Welcome to the CEO Roundtable, where we share industry insights and strategies shaping today's business landscape. Join us as we delve into the minds of top executives driving innovation and progress in our region. In this episode, we're honored to have Bob Duffy, CEO of Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Chanel Hawkins, CEO of Rochester Urban League, Dimitar Karaivanov, CEO of Community Financial System, and Mark Seawick, CEO of Elysian Homes. Get ready for a dynamic exchange of ideas from the forefront of leadership. So let's get started. We're going to start with Bob today. So what are the things that get you really excited about growing the Chamber's business in 2024 in terms of membership, especially in this economic climate?
I think 2024 is a great year. I think there's a lot going on right now. Aside with some of the inflationary issues, we have the Tech Hub, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse Tech Hub, which we're waiting for final designation, which I think will be a great asset to Rochester growing the economy. Our medical center, our URMC is our number one employer. But you look at the technological fabric of Rochester, the vibrancy here, the growth, never vote against Rochester. I think we're in a good place. We're no longer the big three. I think we are really a town of many, many companies. But I get the chance to see some of these small emerging companies coming up routinely. And Chamber's membership, we have like 1,300 plus members. 94% are small businesses. So it's not just the big ones. And that's part of the vibrancy. And the last thing I'll say is when you look at U of R, RIT, and the 17 other colleges and universities in the area, every year we have this tremendous group of young, talented, energetic, vibrant young people coming out. And one of our goals is to try and keep them here. But I think we're in a great, great path right now going forward and just a very positive vibe about Rochester.
Now, Dimitar, you're expanding your footprint tremendously. What are the things that you see in the future in terms of innovation and different things that you're expecting that a community bank will do to be successful?
Yeah, we see many of the same things that Bob is talking about, especially here in Rochester. Just the onshoring of some of the manufacturing that's coming back to our markets, all the way in, from Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. That's technology, that's advanced manufacturing, that's power. So that's the economic activity that we haven't had in a long time in upstate is coming back for us. So we're leaning behind that. And for us as a company, we also have a second leg to the stool, which is gaining market share. If you look at kind of where we are in most of our markets, we're the largest non-super regional bank. Mm-hmm. So that's becoming a tremendous magnet for talent, clients, service. So we're very excited about the opportunities.
Absolutely. And how about you, Chanel?
I think I get to underscore what these gentlemen talked about, just the booming economy, that we're moving forward. But my role is to make sure that there's access. And so as there are new job opportunities being created, the Urban League of Rochester, we want to make sure that there's access for everyone. And so we want to make sure that African Americans, Latinx communities are prioritized, have opportunity to be part of the growing economy.
And Chanel, we think about it in two buckets. Mm-hmm. We think about the opportunity, which is the economic opportunity in the markets, and that's one bucket. And then we think about the responsibility, Absolutely. Which is our responsibility as a corporate citizen to make sure that we bring everybody together.
And I think it's important that you mention responsibility, especially now as we see pushback on DEI and equity. Mm-hmm. And so it's good to hear banking industry say, no, it is our responsibility to ensure equity and that everybody has an opportunity. So thank you.
If I can add one point of that. Rochester, the MSA is the second wealthiest in New York State, outside of New York City. And really the third wealthiest that they look across in terms of jobs in the state. We're also one of the highest poverty rated cities and communities. So it's a contrast. And I think going back to Chanel's point, with all the vibrancy and growth, we can't leave people behind. I think that's the important thing, I think, for 2024 in terms of decisions that we all make that can make it a better place.
In fact, in 2024, we're working on our strategic plan at the Urban League. We're about to celebrate 60 years next year of serving the community, and so we want to make sure no one is left behind. And so how will our work change? So we're excited to go through that process.
Well, and we were talking earlier about underserved communities. We need to talk because it is so increasingly difficult for anybody to buy a house because the down payment, because affordability is at an all-time low. But when you're looking at underserved communities, excuse me, you're looking at men and women who oftentimes have to rely on grants in order to secure their first home. And if you're writing an offer on a property in this market and you need to be approved for a grant, you're not actually going to be able to buy a house. And we need to overcome those hurdles.
Yeah, it's so competitive. And even when you look at Rochester, they have the data on what the housing market looks like for communities of color, and you'll see the lag. So imagine with the competition and not having access, so there's got to be a priority. And so that's certainly the work that we do at the Urban League, and we too are excited about 2024 and all the work that we'll do, and especially with all the new advancements in the Urban League. We've been growing. In fact, we've doubled our budget, so we're really excited about the work that we're doing. So as our economy grows, our work grows.
So let me give you an example of what we're trying to do here in Rochester in particular is, so we're going to be opening a number of new locations in 2024, and we're making sure that we cover not just the affluent markets, the opportunity markets, but also the underserved markets. So we're going to have specific location that's dedicated to the underserved communities, and we've redone our products. So we've got products with no down payment, for folks that need a little bit more help, with a much easier access to credit as well on the business side. So it takes effort, right? It's got to be deliberate. It needs to be thoughtful, and it needs to be concentrated on where it's needed the most.
I love the deliberate action.
And it's also a marketing issue, too. How do you market all of these services to the underserved folks? And I want to ask Mark, because you were on top this past year from a marketing perspective, what do you have to do, and how do you have to change how you're marketing? What are the things you're going to keep? What are things you're going to do more of? And what are things that you're going to stop doing, if any?
I think one of the reasons that, there are many reasons why it is that we've ascended in the way that we have, but one of them has to do with marketing. We're marketing our clients' homes in a way that nobody else in Rochester is. So we have a videographer that we work with, and we use drone videos, and we distribute those to 50,000 prospective buyers. That's just through email. And there's social media, our LinkedIn account and our Facebook accounts and our Instagram account. We've got a podcast that we run. We have AI, and we're starting to use AI. AI is increasingly important, and that is going to become. I've got a blog that we write every month. That is emailed out. There are about 20-some thousand people who read that blog. We're just trying to do things differently than other people, and it's starting to have. It's actually having an enormous impact. But there are barriers to entry. Some of what it is that I've talked about, you're hiring a videographer, you're putting a drone in the air, you're getting people to edit, that's expensive. And not everybody can afford to actually do those things.
I was just going to ask, how do you do that well if you can't afford to do it? Certainly you're a brand, and your organization is a brand. How do you build your brand on a lower budget?
There is technology that that doesn't cost a lot of money. So in addition to these very, very highly polished videos that I'm putting out, once a week, actually later this afternoon, I will sit down with a member of my team who will open up my iPhone, and I will give a 1-minute overview as to what's gone on in the real estate market in the preceding week. It's not polished, it's a little bit more raw, but if you've got an iPhone and if you have a Facebook account or a LinkedIn account, boom, you're sending out a message. The blog that I'm writing, again, it's being read by 20-some thousand people every month. That's just me sitting down in front of a computer for a few hours every month and then just distributing that through social media channels. So you can become a thought leader if you're just willing to take the time and if you've got an opinion and a voice and an ability to disseminate that.
You mentioned AI.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How is everybody around the table using AI? And there are some folks who are scared to death of it. So I'd love your point of view relative to that. Bob, why don't you start?
Learning it, we obviously research, use it, chat and technology. We look at some of that. We don't use it yet at the Chamber. I think we are going to take advantage of a couple of resources we're having come in and kind of tell us how can we utilize AI to help us. I don't think it's going to just eliminate jobs. That's a big scare. I think it'll enhance. Technology gives you an asset. I think you can't replace people with that. But we're at a learning stage, and New York State just created this huge mechanism for Empire AI between Albany and Buffalo. But U of R has one of the largest computer systems that are right here in Rochester. So I think we're actually poised to learn from some of the expertise here. But I do think that's the future in terms of information and using technology. I think that to benefit our business as opposed to seeing it as an impediment. But we're still at the learning stage right now.
And I'm going to disagree with something that you said. I think that people will be replaced by AI. But the people who are going to be replaced are the people who don't understand AI. So if you don't want to be replaced by AI, then learn AI so you can harness the AI. That's the real issue. It's like ATMs. Back in the 70s, everybody was terrified that bank tellers were going to go out of business, that there weren't suddenly going to be any bank tellers. It became an adjunct, another service, another. So people won't be replaced by AI. They're going to be replaced by somebody who understands AI. At least from my perspective.
Well, I think we're just going to have different types of jobs. The same way we've gone through all of the industrial changes and we have 10 million jobs we can't fill in the country, right? So there's going to be just different, more meaningful jobs for people. We're spending a lot of time talking about it and looking into it, and we're probably going to have something that we're actually using in the next 9 to 12 months internally as well as externally. But internally, it can take a lot of load from things like questions internal about policies or procedures or things where you would typically have to call somebody and get a question answered. Now it can come directly from AI. So that person that used to answer that question can now do something much more useful with their time, much more value added to them as well. So the job is going to change.
I agree. Just yesterday, we're starting to grow our rental property management. We needed to create a contract that exists between our business and prospective landlords. We had a couple of options. One was to turn to a law firm and wait for several weeks to pass and then write a check for quite a bit of money. Instead, my property manager, she went in and she said, here's the service that we want to provide. And literally within moments, we had a contract that we'll now send to our attorney for review as opposed to having that started from scratch. I mean, I personally am using 3 different AIs throughout the course of my day, every single day, just repeatedly.
We've done the same thing, and I found that it's created efficiencies, especially in the workspace. I mean, to get a contract or even to set up all of the commands for a spreadsheet for something you need to analyze, it's certainly created opportunities for us in the nonprofit space, and I look forward to continued learning. We have to learn more and learn about the dangers of AI.
Yep.
Certainly don't know and understand all of that now, but there's a lot to learn, and I agree with you that people will have to learn it, or else there is an opportunity to be left behind.
I agree, absolutely.
And I think the wonderful use for it right now is contracts and things of that nature that are very straightforward. In terms of other uses where personality needs to be infused, it's a great thought starter. Get something in front of you, but then a human has to add, personality and style and the fun stuff to it.
My writing is actually better as a result of being able to ask an AI to provide me a few metaphors that have to do with, and then you've got metaphors, and then all of a sudden your creativity is sparked, and you're suddenly running off in a different direction. But you're right. I actually somebody did a profile of me a couple of weeks ago for a newly launched magazine, and I spent probably 45 minutes, an hour, filling out the questionnaire they provided to me. The interview came back. I asked them when I said, well, this is really great, but I hope you're not offended. It really sounds as if it was written by ChatGPT. And she said,
It was. Yeah.
And she immediately did a rewrite. She wrote it herself, and it was beautiful. It was beautifully rendered. But we do have to be careful, and you do need to infuse that human component in order to make in order for it to be realistic and make sense.
Absolutely. One of the other things that we have here in Rochester, New York, is companies that are really committed to creating great places to work and core values that are all similar, and that's why
you're
suggested,
leading the charge. My God,
I think,
seriously.
I think Wegmans is really.
Wegmans is on. You and Wegmans are the two. No two ways about it.
But and that was one of the reasons that we selected the 4 of you, because when you find out what your values are, they're all very similar, if not using the exact same words. And I want you to talk more about that. How did you develop the culture? What went into it? And how are you able to sustain it when some people are hybrid, some people are in person, some people are in Massachusetts, some people are in Pennsylvania? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, so for us, values are truly at the core of what we do and how we think about our clients, our colleagues, our communities. We have an organization with 3,000 people, and the bank is one of our 4 businesses, but we've got 4 businesses, and they go from, Boston to Seattle to Houston to Puerto Rico. So I cannot tell you that the culture is the same across the company, but that's why the values are so important, because the values are the same. That's what we emphasize, right? So, and we have 4 core values. They're integrity, which is the currency in our business in financial services.
Absolutely.
Teamwork, nothing gets done without all of us really putting our shoulders behind it. We have excellence, so we keep ourselves to high standards in how we service each other and the communities and our clients. And the last one, which I think is a little bit unique to be stated that outright, is humility. And that's really what attracted me to the organization initially as well. And my predecessor talked about humility of management, and that kind of struck me as a concept that's really kind of hard to understand until you really immerse yourself into it. What does it mean? But it's important to us. It's how we do things. So my job is honestly to try to keep those values consistent across those 3,000 people, across those many states. I think we've got people in something like 40 states now. So having those as our core pillars, we constantly reemphasize them, reiterate them, lead by example in the things that we do. Low to no tolerance for anyone that doesn't fit those as well. So that's how we build our culture based on the values.
How about you, Chanel?
I would say, just to add one value, very similar values, so you're right. Growth mindset is one of our values, that we have this constant movement of growing and learning and understanding how we are informing our community, are part of our community, need to hear from our community. And so that is certainly part of our work. At the Urban League, we just went back to work. Everyone's all in person as of March 1st. And so now we're learning how to work together. And so we're going through that learning cycle and understanding what our goals are, but it is our mission that really centers us, our mission and our values that center us and keep the work that we do central and important to everything that we do, and we're still learning that. And so that is part of our growth mindset.
So how is it going? How did you find that going back?
You know what? For me, it's been 5 years at this Urban League, almost 5 years, and it's going well. And we're still learning. We're still learning, but certainly at the center of everything we do, we commit to the mission. And as long as everyone understands that, we're all working on this. And we might get there a little bit differently, but our strategy is what keeps us all aligned. And so certainly that's a good thing. But it's still a learning process, especially after 4 years of working hybrid. That was a challenge. And now us all being in the building, but we're still going through leadership training to understand how we work towards meeting our goals together.
Our process was great. It was not done by management, which was done in the past. It was a roundup of employees. Very similar values. One is inclusion, our top one, but that's internally and externally. It was interesting during the debates with an entire team about values. One of my teammates said, we don't need integrity because we assumed it. And a young woman in our finance team jumped up almost angry. Yes, we do need integrity. It is. I think, as you said, it's at the core. We have customer service, collaboration, but we listen, and the culture has changed, but it's driven by our employees, and we survey all the time. And I'm really proud of the surveys, because when they point out something, we're on it to fix it. And you're always going to have these little issues with people inside. But I just think overall they feel valued. And one of the things I did this year for the first time on Employee Appreciation Day, we have 41 employees. I wrote everyone a personal note card. But what they did, not just thank you, but something special about each one of those people that I knew they did throughout the year, because the people on the ground, I always say they run the organization. Management is proud to work with them, but they drive it. But just showing appreciation for them and listening to what their needs are.
I think that's important, that listening, because I think during COVID we learned that everyone's voice is important. And so listening to your staff, even if you make a decision, it might not change the decision, but at least they know that you're listening to their ideas, and they get a better understanding of maybe why you made the decision. So listening is important. I agree.
We work really hard at culture. We actually hire an executive coach who comes in once a year and meets with me personally, meets with our COO and our team, and we're constantly driving. And so as a result of just listening And as a result of understanding what it is that we need to do in this day and age, we have a family first policy. And everything stems from, you first and foremost need to take care of your family. And then you can take care of everything else that comes at work. So if somebody has a school play that they need to go to, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, take off. We don't care. If you've got to take your kid to a pediatrician appointment, that's fine. Go right ahead. And as a result, at 11 o'clock at night, I'm getting emails from members of the team. On the weekend, I'm getting emails because they understand that this is a privilege, but it goes both ways. And so we're extending. We've got actually one person who is on staff who's a paid member of the team whose responsibility is to make sure that she's actually overseeing culture and actually making sure that we are celebrating the accomplishments of members of the team. We're celebrating their birthdays. We're there when times are difficult. But as a result of all this attention and focus, all of a sudden, just organically, our clients are then taken care of because the same respect that we bring to the table and that we're demonstrating on behalf of the members of the team, that is then brought and shown to the clients that we're working with, and it works. And we're very, very fortunate. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of money, and a lot of attention, but the payoff is enormous.
I would add one thing. I think with our younger workers today, flexibility is key.
Huge.
They want because. If you tell somebody, no, you can't go to the concert tonight, you have to stay and do paperwork, and you miss it, that person won't be there the next day. But if you say, go to the concert, just get it done by tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, they'll go to the concert and come back and probably work until 3 o'clock in the morning. But I think having flexibility, we are both pet-friendly and child-friendly. And it's not unusual to see dogs in our place. It's just clean up after them, that's all. One rule. Kids, if a lot of times school vacations come, we have single parents. Child care is so expensive. We have plenty of room. They don't disturb anybody, and just try and find ways to, when they have challenges, to try and fit those. As opposed to sometimes if you're too inflexible, you cost them a lot of money, and it's not always pay because I don't think we're the highest paid organization. People say they should pay as much as we possibly can pay them, but it's the other things I think that matter more than just financial means.
I completely agree. We get unlimited personal time off, and nobody abuses it. I mean, our season is cyclical. March, April, May, June, nobody takes off for 2 weeks. But the holidays, go and roast a turkey, trim it free. I mean, I'll see you in 3 weeks' time, and it works.
Yeah. So, I'd love to know how you measure your own success as a CEO.
So we're a public company, so if you ask probably a fair amount of our constituents, our shareholders, that's what they're going to look to. It's going to be the performance of the public company. But really, for me, honestly, it's the success of our people. And I'm in 20-something year career, and the best moments of my career are when I've seen somebody that I've worked with who has become really successful on their own. And one of our focus now internally really is we've got 3,000 people, and there is a very high number of them that are extremely talented, that they can do any job that you can imagine, right? So my success, honestly, will be, in my eyes, have we enabled these people to be successful, hopefully within our organization. And if we do that, then we're going to be taking care of our clients, they're going to be committed to our values, to our communities, and then all of that is going to lead to the shareholder results at the end of the day.
I like that explanation. I think that's important because for me, first of all, lots of pressure for me being the first woman to serve as the president and CEO of the Urban League, so followed two great men, but also making sure that we knew who we were, and I knew who I was, and really standing resolute in that. So I think how I measure success, one, are we meeting the goals? Do we know who we are, and are we getting there? Are we working on that pathway? And I think even during COVID, the Urban League, we had to solidify ourselves and reestablish ourselves as a civil rights organization. So knowing who we are, who we want to be, and really outline our values of where we're going. So am I doing that? So constantly checking in. I don't think we're there yet, but we're constantly checking in. But also becoming more collaborative. Am I becoming more collaborative? Myself, my organization, my team, are we working with community members to really create change? And then as we measure that, okay, now what else can we do? So I don't think I'm ever at the point where I can say, yes, I'm successful, but I'm meeting the milestones to get us there.
We're judged financially from our finance committee, so our numbers are important. So we track that and pretty astute with that. But also, I look at our customers. We lose very few members every year. I think our retention rate's well north of 90%. Our employees, we rarely lose anybody. Maybe one person leaves, and I know if any of our teammates have opportunities, I've urged some to take some out there. We can't always pay them what they want, but when you treat people well and you welcome them for new opportunities, it's like bringing a team outside. So I think trying to never discourage anybody from leaving. Somebody leaving for a better opportunity, I think it's a good thing for that. But overall, and I think it was said before, I love the comment about humility. I honestly think when you give other people credit, the credit comes back to you tenfold. And so I think looking at and trying to give people credit in our organization, sometimes the people that are invisible, that nobody knows, if they left, we would fall apart. And so I just making sure that there's those people behind the scenes that just make that organization go, and ensuring that we give them attention and credit because they're a big part of the success.
It's really interesting you say that, because that was almost exactly my answer, which is, I know that 81% of our business comes to us because previous clients are referring their family and their friends, and I know that our business grows year after year after year. Maybe not this year, but other than that, we do really well. But that is one metric. The metric that I really try to focus on, as I'm judging myself as a CEO, is it is much more subjective. Am I doing it correctly? And I make mistakes, but I need to look at myself in the mirror when it is that I make mistakes to determine what it is that I did wrong, and it usually has to do with team and team culture. And if I look myself in the mirror and try to figure out what mistakes I've made and how it is not to do that again, then I know that I'm at least growing. But I am very, very, and I'm sure that everybody around the table, if you're going to be successful as a CEO, you need to be self-reflective. And it's one of the core values that you talked about, humility. Looking yourself in the mirror and just saying, okay, I screwed that up. I fell on my face. I picked myself up, and I'm not going to do that again. And that's I think, really important to do. So it's less about the money, as you said, and more about these other, are people feeling good about coming to work? Are people feeling good? Are they engaged in the way that we want them to be engaged?
And tell your team, raise your hand and say, hey, I messed up. Because what happens then, they trust you implicitly moving forward.
Apologize.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh my God, that goes such a long way.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. So, our final question before we wrap up here. What do all of you need from your either chief marketing officer or marketing partners to become as successful as you can possibly be in 2024?
So from my perspective, I'm a big believer in the merging of data and marketing. And to me, ultimately, a lot of marketing is basically going to be data science.
Yes.
And I think it's already started, and so I'm really glad to hear that you as our partner are deep into that as well. But that's our focus really, is how can we have a lot of customers already captive, we have a lot of customers that we can target, how can we leverage, the AIs, the SEOs, everything, to be much more thoughtful, deliberate, and targeted at those customers with what they really need, as opposed to just another marketing piece.
And continue to analyze and overanalyze. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's from my perspective, that's the value add of the marketing team going forward, and really leading the customer acquisition journey next to the business. Really need that needs to, because the business people are not always the data people. So having the marketing people work with the data people, with the business people, it really becomes the force of success.
Yeah, although I'm in the nonprofit sector, but our values are pretty similar. One, we want to make sure that our people are core and central, but also when it comes to marketing, how can we leverage AI to help us with fundraising? That's certainly something that we need to do and still need to learn, but also creating opportunities for new collaborations, new partnerships. The Urban League, although we've been around for almost 60 years, many folks don't know who we are and what we do, so we still have to continue to leverage not just marketing in the nonprofit space, but also have our for-profit partners be partners in helping us to do that. So certainly an opportunity for us.
I think telling the story about what you do, I think stories are pretty powerful. So talk about what you are accomplishing, what you hope to accomplish, telling stories about your people. And I think I have people on my team, some are masterful at networking, some you don't see. But everyone has a story to tell, so trying to get that word out. I think talking about accomplishments, but not bragging. Somehow getting the story about this is what was accomplished. And maybe the last part is just we're at a point in this community we need more collaboration. Rochester is known for competing with each other when we should collaborate, and economic development agencies, I think there's sometimes this inter-competition as opposed to collaboration, compete with the outside. I think this tech hub is going to be a powerful tool to bring 3 sister cities upstate together that used to always compete. Now it's time to collaborate, and I think we're going to see great growth from that partnership.
Well, unlike everybody at the table, I've had the hardest time finding somebody to help me with social media. So you've had great success with interns. Mm-hmm. I've had it terrible. I mean, we've got longevity on the team, people who have stayed for 10, 15, 16 years. But the social media component of things has been very, very difficult. So we finally hired somebody who starts in actually a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about the opportunity for more creativity, because up until now, it's been me as CEO who has also been CMO, and I am desperate and very excited about having somebody who's going to be bringing ideation to the table. Somebody's going to help with creative ideas. Somebody's going to harness on new ideas and new technologies. And every single week it seems as though something new is coming out in terms of AI.
Absolutely.
And so I'm looking forward to this young guy helping us out and just being more creative and harnessing those technologies and getting our word out there even more.
Well, I want to thank all of you for being here today, and I am very, very grateful, as I know all of our viewers are as well. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.